go straight to you, and it'll unmute you once you do that.
Oh, it unmutes me too, so I don't even have to do that anymore.
So hit stinger 4 again. There you go.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, are you ready? Or do you want to get your graphics together?
Well, good afternoon. I'm First Warn 5 Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris. The time is 3:09 on our Monday. We have a First Warn 5 weather day. Today has potential to bring us some fairly strong storms. The severe threats rather high for us today, and we expect a watch to be issued, an additional watch. We've got one already in place that I'll show you here in just a bit for some of our counties in Kansas. It's on the western side of the KCTV5 viewing area, but we may get another one that comes our way. So I want to pop in, give you an update, see what we see, and what you can expect as we work our way through this evening with the severe weather threat. So let's get to work here. I'll start out with the radar. And so far today, something that has been good is we've seen quite a bit of cloud cover and just messy rain. And why that is good is it stabilizes the atmosphere a little bit. If today had been bright sunshine, that heat from the atmosphere would have caused everything to be more unsettled, more unstable. You can get stronger storms that way. So whenever you get showers, just regular showers like we've had, sometimes that can take the punch out a little bit. And it remains to be seen how much of that had an impact. We do have storms, though. Nothing severe on the map right now. I'll show you this batch that we have up by St. Joe that has popped up on us. Let's see if we can get this moving along. So you see the thunderstorms here by St. Joe, and they're not, it's pouring pretty good, and we've got some lightning with it, but they're not necessarily any. There we go. Now we're moving along. Okay, so around Plattsburgh and Smithville, you see the lightning strikes. We'll keep an eye on that. This is up close to a, oh, there we go. There we go. Was that on me the whole time, Janae? That was on me the whole time. Let me go back. My apologies. We've got a new system here that we're trying to figure out, and we're working through the kinks. Okay, so there it is. That's the broad view of the radar. These are the widespread kind of messy showers I was talking about, and I zoomed in here around St. Joe. That's the only thunderstorm that we have that's in the region right now. And again, it's not severe. So we're keeping tabs on that one. We'll see what it does over the next 45 minutes or so. But this area that we have by St. Joe is right by the warm front. Now, let me highlight a couple things for you here. This area right through about here is the most volatile zone right now. Whenever you have storms that are near a warm front, they get a little extra twist to them, or they can. That warm front causes the winds to shift a little bit, and this would be the most likely area to see anything want to spin and possibly bring a tornado threat, which is on the table for us this evening in some locations for a short while. I think it's kind of a brief window for us tonight. There's a second zone that we're watching, and it's down here. All right, this is going to be the final punch. This cold front, once it's through, the severe threat's over with. And I think that's going to happen sometime by 9 o'clock for the Kansas City Metro, maybe even a little bit sooner. Before that happens, though, you see these ones that are down here in southern Kansas and where they're headed? They're headed up in our general area, so we're going to have to watch those as well. And out ahead of that front, they can still be rather volatile and still want to spin. So those are things that we're going to be monitoring very closely as we go through the next several hours. There's a closer look at some of the storms in northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas riding out ahead of that cold front, kind of on a line with the Kansas City area. All right, so it is a First Warn 5 weather day. This is the nuts and bolts. Strong to severe storms are a threat into the evening. The primary threat here is probably hail. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we had a big hail event. This has a similar type of threat to it. The atmosphere is quite similar. Damaging winds are possible. I don't expect necessarily widespread damaging winds and maybe a few tornadoes. We'll see if we get a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch or any watch at all. That's all on standby, but most likely it would be a tornado watch. And the timeline for the Kansas City Metro is till 9. It may be a little bit longer if you're southeast of the Metro. This is the risk zone that we have that's valid for right now. This is, again, if you're just joining us, 3:13 on Tuesday. Or Monday rather, and we're in a level 3 out of 5. This is not a very common threat level. This is somewhat rare. If we were to pull the view out, which I don't have here, there's actually a level 4 out of 5, which is certainly rare. That's down in Oklahoma, where some of those storms that are firing that I just showed you, they're coming from this really unstable spot, and they're trying to work their way up toward us. So the threat level's certainly elevated today. Here's the current watch that we have. This is a severe thunderstorm watch. In our KCTV5 viewing area, this would be Douglas, Franklin, Anderson counties. That's on the western fringe of our county, of our viewing area. So currently, as of right now, as I record this, no watches for the Kansas City Metro, but we do expect that to change here rather soon. Now, the threat level today is that we could see tennis balls sized hail. That's this zone right here. And if you notice, this is pretty rare. So the primary threat today may end up being the hail, and that's up to that size. Now, if it hails, not everybody would see that size. You know, quarter's pretty common, so that's down here. But that's what the atmosphere is capable of producing today. Let's time it out. Let's see what the storms look to do. This is a very good high-resolution forecast simulation of what the radar will look like, and we use this pretty heavily behind the scenes, and then we show it to you on air too. So let's see what it has to say. There's 3 o'clock. Watch as these storms kind of explode as we go forward in time. Let's see if it'll let me do that. It won't let me advance. Let's see if I can grab it. Here, I'm going to do something. Excuse me for this. It takes just a second to try to work through this. I'm just going to walk you through the timeline in a different way. There we go. See how they just fire up on us? This is by 5. And these could be strong to severe thunderstorms by 5. This zone up here by Cameron and Chillicothe, that would be the most likely area where we could again see that spin. Around Kansas City, Olathe, closer to that cold front. That cold front is that back edge of rain by Lawrence. Probably not as high of a tornado threat there. Let's go a little bit forward in time. This may be a 2-phaser. We could get hit with 1 round and then a break. This is by 7. Notice how fast these things race out. Once they get going, they don't linger long, and the entire threat window is rather brief. By, again, 9, I think it's done. Watch this second round try to come up. This is the one from southern Kansas and northeast Oklahoma, and it tries to make a run toward us by 9. But that front is already coming through. Kansas City, if this plays out this way in the Metro, the front would be through. Our severe threat would be done by this point, but we could still have it on the table if you're south of the Metro in Harrisonville and Butler and places like that. And then this line will quickly scoot out as well, and it's outside of the entire KCTV coverage area before midnight. Now let's see what happens on the backside of this, because we do have a first warn for tomorrow. See some of these thunderstorms that are on the backside for tomorrow morning? Not a severe threat here, but it may be pretty rough weather tomorrow morning, just like, you know, nuisance type heavy rain as you're driving into work. So this is after the storms, the main storms, still in, 8, 9, 10 o'clock could have some moderate to heavy downpours. Then those move out. We're dry for the afternoon on Tuesday, and we're much cooler. But we do have that first warn tag. That is not a first warn weather day. That's our top tier alert that we have in place today. But for Tuesday, still a first warn that it may slow down your commute, and you have to, adjust and think about how you're going to dress the kids as you put them out toward the bus stop. And we drop by like 20, 25 degrees tomorrow compared to today. So a much cooler day. And this will knock us down for a while as far as high temperatures go. Look at that. We're in the 50s on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're back to near normal by the end of the week, but it's a quieter stretch. It'll be breezy, it'll be chilly, but weather really settles down by tomorrow afternoon, and then the weekend comes in. Our next system will roll in. Doesn't look like a severe threat at this point. We're warmer. We're in the upper 60s and low 70s with some scattered showers on Sunday. So that's the breakdown. I'm going to go through it again one more time for those of you that are just joining us. We do have this live streaming on Facebook and our streaming television channel. So we'll rehash what we're expecting as we go through tonight with this severe weather threat. So the current time, 3:17, and we have a first warn 5 weather day, our top tier alert for today. It's a rather unusual or rather rare risk level for us, especially this time of year. April, it starts to get going, but the heart for us is really getting into May. We've already had one event with all the hail That was back in March, so we're off to an early severe season. So as we look at the radar, we do have a clump of thunderstorms up by St. Joe, but a lot of this is just regular old rain, which is a good thing. It takes some of the punch out of the atmosphere. It remains to be seen just how much the atmosphere is going to be able to take advantage of what it does have to work with and produce severe weather, but the threat is certainly there, and we do expect a watch to be issued for all of the Kansas City area, most likely. Here's a closer view of the storms up by St. Joe. We just looked at these a few minutes ago. Let's see if they're strengthening. Doesn't really look like it. They're just regular old thunderstorms right now. We don't have any warnings, anything like that on them. And this setup that we have, this zone up by the red that you see, this warm front, this area is the one that has the most twist, right up where those St. Joe storms are. So again, we're going to have to watch those quickly. That spot right there for about the next 2 to 3 hours, small window, next 2 to 3 hours, there's a potential for rotating thunderstorms there. There's also this pocket down in northern Kansas, northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, that is on a general path up toward the Kansas City area. It's moving northeast, and this line right here is the final back edge. We're waiting on that front to come through, and once it does, later on tonight, probably by about 9 for Kansas City, then that will knock our severe threat out. We'll be done. We'll be done with it by then. Closer view of the storms down in Ponca City and Independence, southern Kansas, northern Oklahoma. These things are going to go strong. They went up quick, and they will be moving quickly, and they're expected to be rather strong. Here's the breakdown of why we have the first warn weather day in effect, because there is this strong to severe thunderstorm threat that's rather high. And large hail, damaging winds, even a few isolated tornadoes are possible. I think, again, our tornado threat in our viewing area is probably till about 5 o'clock, something like that. So it's rather brief. And the hail could be really big, just like it was a few weeks ago. After 9 o'clock for Kansas City, probably wrapping up with it. I mentioned it's somewhat of an unusual risk level, an unusually high level, especially for this time of year, a level 3 of 5. It's actually a level 4 of 5 to our south, which is really rare. But 3 out of 5 for Kansas City. That does include the Kansas City metro. Here's the watches. It's a severe thunderstorm watch only to the west, the far western fringes of our coverage area. This is Douglas, Franklin, Anderson counties here in the blue that you see. That goes until 9 o'clock tonight. And any minute, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we had a tornado watch be issued further east of there, and that would be shaded in orange if that gets issued. So the hail size here, one more time on this, we could be up to tennis balls today. That's what the atmosphere could produce. Not everybody necessarily would see that, but in the most intense cores, you can get up to tennis ball size hail today, which is about as large as what we saw with our previous event. And within that, you could get smaller hail and other weaker cells that would be roughly quarter size. All right, let's see the timing here. Let's run you through the timing and show you this forecast simulation. This is, again, if you're just joining us, very good. We use this internally. Meteorologists use this a lot. It's what we call high-resolution forecast radar data. It's a convective allowing model. All that is a fancy way of saying this is the best stuff money can buy. When you want to look at what the radar may look like in the near term, this only goes out about 12 hours, 15 hours. If you want to get an idea of what radar will look like, this is it. This is the good stuff. So we look at it internally and we share it with you, and it's a really good guide. It's not 100% like, most things in the weather, but it really does help. And you see how it really wants, I'll go back and forward. See how it wants to fire things to the north of the Kansas City metro? Remember that line that I showed you, the warm front, how storms there can really become unstable quickly? You see how it fires them up by Bethany, between Bethany and Maryville? We'll see if that actually happens. This is just a simulation, but that would be a zone we'd watch very quickly. In the meantime, this is by 4 and 5. This whole kind of line, let's see if I can highlight it for you. I can't highlight it, but the whole line from Bethany to Cameron back toward Kansas City, Olathe, and Lacine, that is probably round 1. Now, the risk level for tornadoes in Kansas City, for a tornado, could we see a tornado warning? It's possible. It's not as high for the metro and further south as it is closer to that warm front, but these are the ones that could certainly make the big hail and the damaging winds. But watch as this one flies out of here in no time. Once these things get going, they're going to get caught by what we call a low-level jet. That low-level jet is winds that'll push these rather quickly. Notice if you're in Warrensburg and Clinton by 6 o'clock, this is what the radar could look like. That would be humongous hail potential. Also, just east of the Kansas City metro going along I-70, Chillicothe, we'd be watching up in that area as well. And then it's out of here in no time. This is 7. that first batch is gone. We may catch a break for an hour or two before that second round tries to make a run for us. This would be the one coming in out of northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas. I do believe by that point the cold front would come through, and once that happens, it's the end of the game for whoever's behind the front, which I think it would be through Kansas City by about 9, give or take. So the second line, here it comes. Watch how Kansas City does not get that within the metro. But if you're south, you're probably still in play for round number 2. And it's not a guarantee. This is just how it looks right now. So we need to be aware as we go into the evening that the threat is on the table. But at this point, it looks like 9 in Kansas City. We're probably wrapped up. But Clinton, Warrensburg, Sedalia, you guys might be a few hours later. It might not be until 11 o'clock. But then midnight comes. This is not going to be a late night event where it's overnight and we have to, turn our radios on and have a way to get warnings at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't think it's that kind of play. But we could still have some thunderstorms tomorrow morning. Severe threat here. Not looking at that, just looking at regular old showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder in there. And we do have a first warn on this, as it may impact your morning drive, might impact the bus stop, might impact your plans for the morning before this. So this is Tuesday morning, and these slide away, and then we see the big temperature drop. A lot of times whenever you get a big, strong spring system like this, it's going to come with a temperature drop. No different here. It's going to be about 20 degrees cooler and breezy for us on Tuesday, and that first warn tag on in for the morning, just for the morning. We don't have a first warn for the afternoon. And then it takes a while. It's going to knock us down. We're going to be in the 50s for a stretch. So the 70s that we enjoyed today, the warm weather on our Easter Sunday, it's out of here. So we're down below normal for a 3-day stretch. By Friday, we're back out of it, but it is quieter. It'll be breezy. It'll be chilly, but sunshine will be back for much of the week. And Friday, you're back to normal, and your weekend's much warmer. We're back to the 70s by Sunday. That's when our next system comes in. And that one could bring us some rain. Does not look like a severe threat right now. Independence. So I've got the Facebook comments up, and somebody was just asking about Independence. So I'll take a moment. If you have a question and you're on our Facebook feed, I'm looking at it live right now. Go ahead and shoot me a question, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So Independence, yes, we're watching this storm closely. It is lightning with that storm, and we do have a severe, there you go. We now have a severe thunderstorm warning up around St. Joe. Here's Independence. Let's go to Independence over here to the east. And you're getting, yep, we just had this one go through Marshall. There's Warrensburg. There's Odessa. So you can see some of these areas. Let's go over here closer to Independence. And I'm not seeing thunderstorms around Independence. There's one up there by Liberty. Here's St. Joe, a new thunderstorm warning. So we were just talking about this area where the storms are wanting to pop and go quickly. There you go. Severe thunderstorm warning. Let's see if I can find out what this one is doing. Just a moment here. Let's see what kind of winds and hail it's producing. All right, this one, it goes until 3:20, a severe thunderstorm warning. It's moving northeast at 50 miles an hour. Remember how I told you these things are going to fly out of here? Imagine driving 50 miles an hour. These storms don't have stop signs. They don't have stop lights. They're in and out in no time. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. It does not appear to have a tornado risk with it right now, but that's the area that we've got to watch for that. What else do we have? Grandview. Let's go down to Grandview. So the southern side of our coverage area, as we get down here, our southern side of the metro, rather. So here's Grandview. Right now, you guys are just in showers. But what we will watch, let's go back to our forecast radar. This is specific if you're in Grandview. I think you guys are going to have like a 5 to 6 o'clock play, something like that, and maybe a second round. So here we go. This is by 5. You see that? If I were in Grandview, I would expect some thunderstorms at least around 5 o'clock, give or take. The potential for severe weather is there. Not everybody's going to see severe weather. We'll just have some of us catch heavy downpours and maybe a few rumbles of thunder. But within the strongest cells in those cores, that's where you can get the hail, the high winds, and if they're rotating, maybe try to get a tornado touchdown. The risk level in the metro is not as high as it is to the north, but it is there. Pleasant Hill, Liberty, and Parkville. Liberty and Parkville, watch how this is all kind of riding right along that front. So if you're anywhere within the metro, we'll say the 435 loop, then your timeline's going to be similar. It'll vary by about a half hour because, again, these things are moving at about 50 miles an hour. So if you get the line that comes into Liberty and Parkville at, we'll say, 5 o'clock, by 5:30, it's probably on the east side of the 435 loop. So I can't really pin that difference down right now exactly, but just say roughly 5 o'clock in 5 to 6 in that range if you're within the 435 loop. The plaza around 6. Yes, the plaza around 6. I would expect some thunderstorms at least in the area. Here's the forecast radar by 6. Let's go to the beginning of 6 o'clock. According to this simulation, we might be on the back side of it by 6, but that's really getting gritty detail, and I can't guarantee that we'd be done by then. I'd say the threat is still there from what I see now, but roughly we'll call it 4 to 6, a 2-hour window within the 435 loop where it is most likely to happen, and in the middle of that is 5. I think 5 is prime time, give or take, for the general Kansas City area. Okay, Paola, you guys are further south. So here's, again, see how you're all kind of lumped in as you run north and south in that line from Kansas City. Watch as I go back and forward along that line. If you're north and south, your timeline doesn't change a whole lot. If you're east and west, it does. But Paola, I want you to remember that because you are south, you may get the second punch that Kansas City doesn't. You see that? That's 8. If you're further down here by Harrisonville and Butler and Lacine, this is that line that comes in out of southern Kansas, and that could bring you round 2 that I think we may miss in Kansas City. Okay, what else do we have? Leavenworth. So if you're in Leavenworth, you're a little bit farther on the northwest side. You'll be wrapping up sooner. So I would put you more at like a 4 o'clock. What are we at? 3:29. Let's check the radar right now and see what's popping, because these things are wanting to go rather quickly, just like we saw around St. Joe. So let's go back here and see. There's nothing right behind it. So here's Leavenworth. And as we look around, Leavenworth right there. You guys are on the south side. If you look to your north, you're going to see a rocking storm. But there's not much to your west. There's no immediate threat coming in. And this is so now let's go back to the simulation. Let's compare how good the simulation is doing. So it's got the storm up by St. Joe and then just a bunch of regular old rain in our coverage area. Let's get an idea of how good our computer forecasts are looking. So there's 3. See, it does grab the St. Joe stuff. All right, so we're looking at Leavenworth now. I have a specific question. If you have any questions, I'm on Facebook streaming right now. I'm seeing the questions come through. You see how it wants to flare something up around Leavenworth by 5, 4 to 5? So you guys would be, I gave a general Kansas City metro area timeline of 4 to 6. Because Leavenworth is on the west side, you're probably closer to a 4 o'clock, even though that's only a half hour away. And we just looked at radar and we didn't see much. Watch the simulation. It agrees. It doesn't have much going on at 4 o'clock at the start of 4, but by 4:30, it pops stuff off. That's how quickly things can evolve today. So I'd put you at about a 4 to 4:30, something like that. Probably have some storms around in that area. Okay. Is there a tornado watch in the Independence area? Last I checked, no, but we expect one to come at any minute. So there it is. Yes, that is a fantastic question. That just popped up. We now have a tornado watch. Let's get the details here. That does include all of the Kansas City area and all of the KCTV5 coverage area. Let's see how long this goes. This goes until 11 o'clock tonight. So we have a tornado watch in effect for Kansas City and surrounding areas until 11. That's all the counties that you see shaded in orange, highlighting that risk for. So within that means tornadoes are possible. Not a surprise that we had this watch get issued. We see all the ingredients in place. But within that, too, the hail might affect more of us than tornadoes. So only the strongest, the storms that are twisting the most are going to be the ones that produce tornadoes if they do. This means conditions are favorable. It's possible that we see some tornadoes form. We expect that we're going to have strong storms today capable of producing hail and high winds. We already have it. It's already up in St. Joe. We see more to our southwest that are on a track for us. It's a good bet in our area that we will have severe weather today. It's possible that some of those get twisty and try to drop some tornadoes. Yes, this is a tornado watch, not a warning. A warning means it's imminent and that a tornado is either about to drop, we see it really spinning on radar, or it has been confirmed by eyeballs, or sometimes with radar we can confirm it if it's lofting debris up into the air. This is not a warning. This is a tornado watch. North Kansas City, please. Could you let us know severity and possible window? Yeah, from about 4 to 6 is what it looks like. So it's coming quick, everybody. I mean, that we just had the watch. These things are probably going to fire very quickly, but it is a rather narrow window that we have with that threat. I know that the watch goes until 11, but the Storm Prediction Center does that to allow some leeway in the case that the front slows. Sometimes that happens. And what they will probably do is trim this watch back as that cold front comes through. And once that cold front comes through, the severe threat and the tornado threat is gone. It'll go away. So they're doing that to allow what you need to do in weather. You need to allow some buffer and just say, hey, be aware, just do it through 11. Will that second round punch further north than we were just talking about? It might. It's possible. It all depends on the timing and placement of that cold front, which we will be watching very quickly. Moving in and moving quick. Kristen, yes, I totally agree. What's the chance? The chance for severe weather in the area is very high. Chance that doesn't mean everybody gets it. In the area that you see in orange, chance for severe weather very high. It's already going on, so it's pretty much a guarantee since it's already occurring, and we expect more of that to happen. By the way, if you're in blue, some of those that are watching southwest of Kansas City, that is a severe thunderstorm watch. Even with that, it's possible to get rotating storms. It's just not necessarily as high as it is in the orange, the tornado watch area, to see tornadic activity. Lee's Summit. Yeah, you guys are probably closer to a 5 o'clock threat, give or take. Give or take 5, 6, something like that. I'll take you, everybody that's watching this. I'm getting some really good questions. If you're just joining us and you have any, please shoot them to me on Facebook and we'll walk through them all. I'll give you guys my time. I want you to be ready and prepared, know what to expect. So this was about Lee's Summit. Lee's Summit, home of my church. I go to church in Lee's Summit. Shout out to Abundant Life. So here we go, 5 to 6. So I can't zoom in on this graphic. I'd love to zoom in on Lee's Summit, but you know where you are. Looking like, there you go, 5, 6. So, more on the eastern side of the 435 loop, you might be closer to that 6 o'clock frame, but just, it's weather. And it's all, we'll see how these storms fire, and when they fire by a half hour will matter because they're moving at 50 miles an hour. So 4 to 6, probably closer to 5 to 6 if you're over by Lee's Summit. Baser up on the northwest side. You guys would probably be closer to the 4:30, something like that. The threat would probably be around until 6. Watch by 6. You see Baser? Well, this stuff's out here. It's out here. Now, Clinton, you're still in it, and Chillicothe and Richmond and Marshall, but it's moving east it's just in a run. Okay, should I still go out to dinner for the girls' night at Legends at 5:30? It's a close call. I'd delay it if it were me. 5:30. I don't know where you're coming from. If you're coming from the south, you could still certainly be running through some bad weather, and we could still have bad weather in the Legends area at 5:30. If you were saying 7:30, I think you'd probably have a pretty good shot at it. Olathe, yes, just southwest. Okay, Olathe, you can see you've got your name up on the map there. This is by 5. So you're on the western side, southwest side, so you'll probably be a little bit sooner. 4 to 5, next 90 minutes or so. We'll see what happens for you in Olathe. 4 to 6, broad for everybody, probably closer to the 4:30 timeline for Olathe, and then watch by 5 and 6. See how it's out? We'll see. We'll see how well that plays out. Okay, we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. I'll take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get back. We've got meteorologist Warren Sears. He's live on KCTV5 right now. He's going to walk you through everything as well. We're going to be team working tonight, he and I, tag teaming as we watch the severe threat unfold. I don't anticipate it to be a late night. I think by midnight this will be done for the entire area. I think it'll be done by 10 o'clock. I think by the 10 o'clock news, the Kansas City Metro will be out of it. But we'll do 2 more. I'll do 2 more questions, and then we will wrap it up. Warsaw is great. That's a great question. So you're southeast. You're on the southeast side of our coverage area. I think you get 2 rounds in Warsaw. Let's go through the first round. Okay, so we're talking about 4 to 6 in the 435 loop, Kansas City Metro. Warsaw, you'll probably be feeling that one closer to 6 to 7. See how that lights up there? And then you catch a break, most likely. All right, this is all chaotic, but most likely you'll catch a little bit of a break, and then you get the second round. See that second round? That's 10. Not in Kansas City the way it looks right now. We will see if that verifies. The tornado watch goes until 11, so we're going to treat that with respect. But Warsaw, you may get a second round that we don't necessarily see within the metro. Okay, one more question. Kansas City, Missouri, around 7 to 8 tomorrow morning. The Ozark. Okay, so I'll take this one because the Ozarks, watch. So I can't adjust this map, but watch how that's a volatile area, the Ozarks. I'd say the tornado threat there is higher than what we have in our general area. Watch, see, you get that second batch that comes through. What happens tonight, after this has moved largely away from the KCTV5 viewing area, and that is highlighted in the boxes that you see that highlight our counties. By 10 o'clock, something called the low-level jet really speeds up, and what that does is it puts extra twist in the atmosphere that we may not necessarily have while the storms are on top of us. But for the Ozarks, they'll have that extra jet, and that jet's going to want to cause these things to spin. The tornado threat there is certainly elevated and higher than what we have in Kansas City and surrounding areas. And I had one more that I said that I would read. Ozarks, and how many inches to be expected for rain? My garden really needs it. I know, I know. We've been running dry. A lot of us are in drought. It really depends on, you can imagine, a thunderstorm, you know, it encompasses an area like this that rains, but only the heavy rain is in that really hard, you know, that really compact core. In that compact core, you could get a couple inches out of this pretty easily. If you just get brushed by a storm, you may only get a quarter of an inch. Broadly speaking, across the area, I'd expect somewhere around an inch. I think a lot of us will see an inch, a half inch to an inch and a quarter. A lot of us probably end up with an inch. This ought to be a pretty good rain for a lot of us. More to the south, where they get 2 rounds. And for Kansas City, it's going to be more, see how patchy it is? There's going to be some of us that fall in the dry gaps, and you don't get that much rain out of it. And then some of us, you know, your neighbor down the street, he's going to get hit with that core, and he'll get a whole lot of really heavy rain. Okay, tornado watch, yes, for KC areas and more until 11. I don't recall being under one that long. The reason for a watch is to give you plenty of heads up and say, hey, today we need to be prepared. We need to stay informed. So the Storm Prediction Center issues those, and they like to give lots of lead time. I don't think that we'll still have the watch in effect in Kansas City at 11. It'll probably begin to be trimmed. We'll see if that plays out. I think our tornado threat will wind down closer to sunset, something like that. We'll see how that plays out. That's the timing of the front. When the front's through, tornado threat's done. But for now, one more look at this tornado watch. This goes until 11. You see all the counties shaded in orange. Okay, Marshall, well, last question. So I want to answer everybody, but this will be my last question. Marshall, Missouri baseball coach, do we play tomorrow? Yeah, I think you can play tomorrow. The severe threat will be out of here. You'll probably have some rain in the morning, and it'll be cooler. It'll be breezy, but I think you'll get your baseball game in. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be watching this like a hawk. Meteorologist Warren Sears and I, we've got your back as long as this is here. If it were to go all night long, we would be here. And I suggest you download the First Warn 5 weather app. Within that, you'll have radar, you'll get the warnings, you'll have forecast radar similar to what I was showing you. You can track that yourself. It's a great thing. It's totally free. I know you've got lots of options of where you can go to get your weather information. That's a good one to have. Honestly, we use it. With that, we're going to go get on the news. I'll be on at 5. I'm doing some behind-the-scenes stuff now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and keep it here at Channel 5. We'll keep you guys ahead of the storm. Have a good day.